How good is the new TDS Juggernaut tower? Before I go into depth, the Juggernaut is a single placement limit, high cost, high DPS behemoth with two paths. The cheaper top path does less DPS but adds a fortified zone around it, reducing stun time on towers, and the more expensive top path doing more DPS and extra damage to boss attribute enemies. The Juggernaut has the largest placement footprint in the game, however it makes up for this by only being able to place one of them and have it do huge amounts of DPS rather than, let's say, placing 5 accelerators and taking more space but having more or less the same amount of DPS it cost. On the top path at max level, it does roughly 1800 DPS for a price of 400,700, giving it a lackluster cost efficiency of $223.65 per DPS. It has a fortified range of 14 and attack range of 26, giving it ample space for putting towers next to it inside its fortified zone. The top path does 1.4 times the amount of damage to boss enemies, costing 540,700 with 2000 base DPS, giving it a pretty bad cost efficiency of $270 per DPS. However, against boss enemies, it does a massive 2,800 DPS and $193 per DPS, which is much better, although boss enemies are quite scarce. With good range and incredible DPS, this tower is an absolute powerhouse in the late game, and can really help in modes like Hardcore or Polluted Wastelands 2, where you have a bunch of money to spare out by the end of the game. However, its horrible cost efficiency and large price tag makes it only viable in the late game, and almost necessary to bring an economy down on your loadout. Overall, it's an amazing DPS tower, however its lack of use in the mid and early game really lets it down. 9 out of 10 tower.